pissing?
I did piss. No, I drained the old lizard. I squoze out the lemonade. We're good.
I always like to say going to the lavatory.
Allow me to attend the lavatory.
I let anywhere I go. I just say lavatory.
Donde hasta el baño.
Yeah.
It's just so pomp, and you're like, I'm going to do research in the laboratory.
I love the idea that it's like the bathroom, the washroom, the lavatory. When it's like, I'm gonna go shit and piss. I'm gonna touch my dick and shit and piss.
Well, I know it's like in German. There's no euphemism. It's just I'm going to the toilet.
Shit and pissing.
I'm going to die Toilette.
Oh, if I'm shit and pissing,
if I could start with already a tangent.
Go do it.
So I was at the supply house.
We got an hour to fill,
and I was pissing, and I noticed the toilet was clogged. So I did the citizen's duty. I'm already there.
Right.
I tried to unclog the toilet. The toilet plunger it sucks. It gets stuck. It doesn't. They're supposed to go back and spring back.
Yeah.
It wasn't doing that. So I constantly would like pull it back and do it. And then afterwards, I went to the supply people, and I was like, okay.
There's a problem.
I had a whole conversation. I'm like,
with your situation?
I was there to piss. I'm trying to do the citizen duty and clean this up. And they're like, so it happened? I'm like, no, I'm just there. And like, what do you mean you're just there? And I'm like, I'm just pissing, and I saw it was clogged.
They think you clogged the toilet because you came out and you're like, no, I'm not naming names, but somebody clogged the toilet.
Yeah,
They're like, you clogged the toilet with your big tradesman shits.
And my brain will jump on conversations without
you clogged the toilet.
Without finishing the topic, I'll jump to the end.
I think he clogged the toilet now even.
Yeah,
I don't even believe him now.
No, but
self-report?
I say
telling on their business.
I'll say the end of the sentence without completely understanding the full scope. I do a lot even with work where a customer will just be like, what'd you say? And I'm like, I'm doing this. I'm like this. And they're like, who are you? And I'm like, oh, sorry. I had to slow down. But yeah, I was just like, I was there and it's clogged. The toilet plumbing. Like, what? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And the other person got it, but I was just like, I'm already there. I'm in my citizen duty, and I was unclogging the toilet.
Citizen's duty.
And it's stuck.
Duty, all right. Oh, there was duty.
The plunger doesn't work, and they're like, oh, so they walked over and they're just like, no, I think you got it. And I'm like, yeah, but the problem is the plunger is going to be a problem later. It's going to be a problem. I didn't do it. I'm there pissing. And I saw it. I'm like, I'm in the room.
So did you fix it, or did it? It does sound like a Larry David bit.
Yeah.
Because then everyone thinks, I didn't clog the toilet. I didn't shit. My shit wasn't there. Well, somebody else clogged it.
How do you describe that? Yeah. I mean, it could have been like, I shit in the toilet, it didn't work. And they'd be like, okay, cool. Like, but I didn't. I said,
you could have just said it was your shit. I shit in the toilet.
But I didn't want to say that.
Because it wasn't your shit.
Because the point I was saying, which was that I was pissing, and I'm just while I'm there, and then this other supply lady got it. She was like, "No, I get it. He was trying to help out, and it didn't work." And I'm like, "Yes, thank you."
Did you unclog the toilet successfully?
I guess I did, but it took a lot of tries.
Because I thought I didn't. I have a similar story that's much more harrowing. Okay. So I don't know when my boyfriend got moved out here. I don't know what we were eating, but we were clogging that motherfucker with our shit.
Yep.
And there came a point where he was asleep, and I was up at like 1, and like he had told me the toilet was clogged, and I'm like, okay, I'll take care of it. I forgot, so I went to use the toilet. I'm like, oh boy, it's like
it's the worst timing.
We're talking, and it just wasn't getting unclogged. I was doing everything. The plunger was fucking going.
Did you put your hand in it?
I almost did. Well, but before I thought about that, brown water, brackish water up to the rim. Like I had the plunger in, and I had to be careful how much I was moving the plunger. You know what I mean? And I got it to go down, but I was like literally clearing stuff out of the bathroom.
Yeah.
I was putting towels in front of the door so we didn't get shit water in the carpet. Like I'm like,
Jesus.
oh no, and then at the last second it fixed itself.
Did you know they made something where it's a plastic liner, so then even when it overfills, it's sealed. And then you use that to do it.
Yeah.
Which sounds like the because if it doesn't seal right, you just made it worse.
Well, my boyfriend said that you could just do that with Saran wrap. I didn't know that.
Strong enough?
Apparently.
I don't believe that. I don't think it's strong enough.
What if you just got like a whole thing of Saran wrap from like the dollar store, and then you just fucking use the whole roll?
But you tell the product it's literally lining just the top.
It is cool. No, I know exactly what you're talking about.
I don't know if I trust it though.
You don't trust Saran wrap? Can you imagine if the Saran wrap isn't strong enough and it builds up and then it's like a bubble pops and then there's just shit everywhere?
Well, it wouldn't pop. It would be you squishing it out and then there's not enough pressure to do it. So all you're doing is overfilling it, shooting it out. But because because there's no pressure against it, that's all you're doing.
don't they use saran wrap in like the display toilets at IKEA? So I was just thinking
Yeah,
about
to
that.
prevent people.
Yeah, to
Shitting
prevent
it.
people from doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, what's funny is you still have to be okay. Yeah, now you don't have to just clean shit out of a display toilet, but you still have to pick up someone's shit off the saran wrap. You have to,
Right.
take.
Yeah, well,
you're still cleaning up my poop either way. Is
Yeah,
what I'm trying
yeah.
to
You know, there's
say.
another way too, which is using a giant CO2 can and you shotgun it.
Holy fuck!
Which I guess some plumbers are like, yeah, I guess you're gonna find the leak.
Yeah, I guess you
There's
will.
that, yeah, because it's like, oh, everything's working well. You just shotgun the system. Whatever system that wasn't leaking, the weakest link is now going to explode.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah,
that thing is gonna fucking like you're gonna turn around and there's just shit water coming out of your wall.
It wasn't a problem until
yeah.
you just shotgunned your system.
That's insane.
But it is a system people do. I don't know how often
I wouldn't
it's
do
used.
that. That
But
sounds.
I see videos
Yeah.
where it's this big leaf blowing thing, and you go.
No way. Yeah.
There's smaller versions too.
I don't
It's
even.
like a
I don't
CO2
need to
can.
know much about plumbing to know that that's a bad idea.
Yeah, I think there's some that use a small
I
CO2
feel
can.
like
You shotgun.
it's the sort of thing you only do when you know there's a number of leaks. You don't know where they are exactly, and you're like,
Fuck it.
This is
Force a leak.
diagnostic.
Yeah,
you
this
know?
is
That's
Who
a real
cares?
way to
At this
do it.
point, fuck
Yeah,
it. It doesn't
yeah.
matter. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a real electrical way to fix it. Is that it's so weak, you have to blow it up. There's a system that blows it up so you know where the break is.
That's crazy.
That makes sense.
That must be fun though.
But you wouldn't do that for plumbing. You would wait
Yeah.
until you turn it off. There's like smoke tests.
Right.
You could do
Right.
tests.
Oh yeah, the smoke test, the
Oh.
candle thing. Yeah. I don't know. It's
Exactly.
more fun to
There's
cause
ways to do
thousands
it.
of dollars. It's more fun to cause hundreds of thousands of dollars of
Look,
property damage.
explosions are cool.
They are cool.
That's it.
Blowing up your fucking plumbing. So
I mean,
speaking of blowing up your plumbing, do you have any harrowing shit stories?
Not really. Like, I've always been able to unclog my shit from the toilet, you know.
That's good.
Not to say that I haven't gotten clogs. There have been plenty
I
of
have
clogs.
many
Yeah,
more.
yeah.
I have many more. stories.
But no,
do you not clog toilets?
no, I clog them, but I'm also always able to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've never had a clogged toilet I couldn't muscle my way through.
What about like at
good.
a friend's house and they don't have a plunger?
Oh yeah. Have you ever blown up a friend's toilet?
Look,
I think that's
Matt,
when I've used my arm
Matt,
before.
I'm not like you. I have not ruined a game of D&D through shitting too
It's true.
smelly.
Yeah, we've talked about it even before. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember that. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Yeah, there's times where there's no plungers, and I'm like, here we go.
You put your arm in there.
You can
Dude,
wash your arm.
I've blown.
Yeah.
There was a toilet. It was someone I met once. I never went back. I blew up their toilet. It clogged. I just left.
That's what you would do, though.
Yeah, I'm
I
like,
can't believe
well,
that.
have fun with all my shit.
Oh, I need my cat's stomach hurts. We're gonna go right now.
Yeah. Oh.
No, obviously, sorry, that's a lie. Obviously, I clogged an outhouse. No.
Clogged. Damn. That's some meaty shits right there. Have you ever, man? The move is to go in their litter box. Is to go in their cat's litter box, and they're
that's
looking.
easy
They're
to
like,
clean.
"We need to take the cat to the hospital now."
Yeah,
I mean-
oh my god, that's half their intestine.
Man,
I mean,
size turds. and
That
the
was
fucking-
a thing.
Pretty
Not
fucking obvious.
not poop, but at my mom's place we had the litter boxes like with stacks too high right next to the toilet. One time when I was sick, that I was like, stuff was going out of both ends.
Yeah.
I was really
Yeah.
happy that it was right there because I was like, I could vomit into the litter box.
Oh,
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
While I was using the
Yeah.
toilet.
I love how,
Yeah.
man, I've been there recently where you were
Yeah.
just at that point, you were like, I don't care. Is it
Yeah.
a suitable receptacle? Fine. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Well, and the litter box
Fuck,
is probably
that
the best
sucks.
receptacle
It is,
for that.
It
you
is
know?
a good receptacle for pretty much anything, but then the cats
Yeah.
would be like, what the fuck did you do?
I took it out immediately
I know,
afterwards. You know,
I
like
know,
that's
but
that's
it's
because
just- I
what
love-
else could fit in? It was a lot of vomit. Nothing. It was inundated. The cat could not pee in it or
I'm just
whatever.
picturing
You know?
leaving it, the cat coming in and looking at you like, what the hell is this? What did you do?
You point at the cat like it's its fault.
The cat looks at it.
did it.
The cat looks at it as like, I don't own galoshes. I'm not gonna wade
Yeah,
through
I'm not
that.
gonna wait. Yeah, I'm not gonna. If the cat did this, no, the cat didn't, because then the cat would be dead.
yeah. That's more
would be
fluid than
dead.
the cat has.
That is a fully dead cat
Yeah.
right there.
I mean, how often?
Yeah.
Glows free.
You ever pissed out a window?
I've not pissed out a window.
I have.
Pissed out
Well,
a window?
Yeah,
Actually-
yeah.
I never pissed out a window. I pissed in a cup and then poured it out a window.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That was when I was
Driving.
well, I was in the car, but that was a bomb cyclone. I was stuck.
Yeah.
And that was while I was still
yeah.
sort
It was
of
a
waiting in my
disaster
car.
thing.
Yeah.
Oh,
And that was
yeah.
before I made it to the Red Cross shelter. But yeah, no, I just
I forgot about that.
pissed in a cup and poured it out the window.
I mean, I feel like that doesn't count because at that. Well, okay. not that it doesn't count that it wasn't harrowing, but it's like you were in a situation where it's like desperate times call for desperate measures.
Yeah.
Like I'm talking about times where it's like I was just embarrassed, so I made someone else's life worse. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No,
I think it's just when I'm in an apartment.
That is intense. Though.
I've been in apartments where like the one bathroom's busy, and so I just piss out the window.
Yeah.
Where? Do you look first, or do you just go good luck, whoever's
I think
down
the times I've done it, it was never an issue of someone walking
Can you
by.
imagine pissing on a client? Can you imagine them looking and be like, what the fuck? And they see
I did never do it in work. Work, I piss out in the woods all the time, though. I'm in like so many country areas.
Oh, yeah.
But sometimes you're in town, and there's just they don't give you that. They like, okay, see ya, and then there's no bathroom, so.
You ever shit in your hand and throw it in the toilet?
I save my shits for home. I really enjoy the bidet.
You know what? Maybe
the bidet is fucking insane.
I feel like I have once.
Yeah. I say that joke. I said it as if it's a joke. It is not a joke. I save.
No,
I do not shit at work.
I save my shits for when I can shower because I want to be clean. I want to clean myself out. I hate walking around with shit ass.
Yeah,
I want a bidet like you have. Like you.
Life is too short to go around with a crusty ass.
I can install it.
Very true.
I can show you how to install it. It takes 2 seconds. It's very user friendly to install it.
We'll have to. We'll have to because we have to replace our toilet seat. So we'll have to.
I'll tell you, it's very simple. It's not as scary as it sounds. It's like 2 different things you unscrew and you put it back in.
Yeah,
it's super user friendly. Like regular people install them all the time.
I'll hit you up.
You don't need.
I'll hit you up. You can make my shits just.
I did it for my family.
Yeah,
I did it
really.
I did it for myself, and then I did it for my family. I installed it.
I love having friends over so they can help me shit better. If you catch my meaning.
I mean, I talked about a lot my family, and they bought 2.
No, bidets are the way of the future.
Yeah.
It's mostly elderly is the best why it's made, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It is in general use, but keeping the fact that the elderly can actually like do that.
Yeah.
That's actually
there's legitimate
main
need
point
for it. But it's also
a
just
society
nice.
should just do it anyways.
Yeah.
The toilet paper crisis during the pandemic did not affect gay dudes at all. Because they'll have like the shower attachments they clean out their holes with.
Oh.
Yeah. I didn't at the time, but yeah.
Well, I mean, we never really hit like, oh, we're out of toilet paper. We're just like, okay, cool. Yeah, we use it very occasionally.
We were close. I usually buy it, so I usually buy a lot of utility stuff.
Yeah.
I was, but yeah, I definitely wasn't super close.
Yeah. I don't know. There was
if we had to,
just
left. You sit in the dryer longer because I get the dryer one.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And then you just watch another freaking YouTube video. It's not good for you.
I'm gonna. Hemorrhoids like crazy. We're sitting on the toilet. I'm gonna do our plugs, and then we're gonna get to our question because we're a certain amount of time in. If you want your questions or topics talked about or answered or whatever on the podcast, go to coffee.com/wrongroom, ko-fi.com/wrongroom, and it's $6, and we'll answer your thing.
Make it unhinged.
Make it unhinged. Give us content. If I think it's stupid, I will refund you. Not because I don't want your money, but because I want you to feel bad. Yeah. And then Trackmarks, my role-playing game. It's still out. And so is some other stuff. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Doesn't really matter. Only wasted. Man, you know about that whole RPG thing, it literally is like finally it's just out of my head. Like literally I talked about it being that's what it was before, and now it's like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders. I finally don't have to worry about the thing I've been working on for like a decade.
Yeah.
Nice. It's pretty tight. Anyway, we have a question.
You know, that is a funny thing. Here's another tangent.
All right, hit me. Hit me.
So when I was talking about I was on that date and I talked to like I didn't realize how much like osmosis I got. I think that's the right term of like the D&D throughout the years.
Yeah.
Was I'm like, yeah, I know a game designer, and I was literally talking about both of you guys. I was like, yeah, anytime we want to know a new game, I just go to this guy, and anytime I want to talk about like deep designs together, this guy, and I was like, huh, this is not a normal thing to have.
No, it is really funny when you start talking about it and realize just how much you know.
Yeah, I was really appreciative because I was like, oh, if I wanted to learn a new system, we would just like play with just Ben, and then we would just like discuss it, work on it, but I wouldn't be afraid to play it.
Yeah.
Like, because like playing Rokugan without Ben would be really hard.
Playing what without
Rokugan? I mean, Legends of Fighters.
Yeah.
Or any game, really.
Yeah.
Oh, do we want to talk about that first?
Yeah. I mean,
Because
What are you going to talk about?
I have a question that we can answer.
Let's not forget the question.
It kind of goes off of what you were saying, like right at the beginning, where it's like, we were talking about like music. We were talking about music and stuff before, like in between episodes, and we were talking about like.
Oh, we didn't get recorded.
Right, we didn't record that.
You guys
like,
did not deserve to hear that.
Yeah, he didn't deserve it. Pay up, piggies. You want to hear the in between? Pay up for more mics.
Oh, we just keep recording and we eventually just record everything.
Yeah,
that's what people do.
Just our whole life. Yeah. I mean, we become streamers. Yeah.
We
Mythical Morning ended up literally recovering. They did a show and then they did an after show the whole time.
Yeah,
they did it for years. I don't think they do it anymore.
I don't think so.
I think it was too much of a production thing.
Yeah.
Red asks, "What's the most memorable puzzle you've encountered in a tabletop game?" And this made me think about how I think we've talked about before how it's like. I mean, that's one of the reasons I want to keep doing role-playing games. Not only it's a cheap, good excuse to hang out with the boys and do something cool, but also keeps the brain sharp, staves off the dementia, the specter of losing everything about your identity and memory. You know, just pushes it down the road a little bit. Just a little.
I mean,
it's always there, but...
I actually have an answer
but
for
like
this
puzzles.
right away.
What's your answer?
Well, you said most memorable. Not the
puzzle.
best puzzle.
True.
The most memorable.
I think it for
there was
that makes sense. Yeah.
There was one in a game that in Nith at one point. It was just a simple like, okay, yeah, put things in 4 different places. There's like inscriptions on the walls, and we did it completely randomly. We didn't pay attention to anything in the room, and we're like, here, and they're like, oh, that didn't work. So we swapped 2 of them. Boom! Instantly worked.
Oh, really? Yeah. I don't remember that.
That's you just brute forced a puzzle.
We brute forced it. We're like,
that's amazing.
You know, just like completely brainless. Just.
Well, that's the joke is that D&D puzzles are brain dead.
Yeah.
That is the joke.
That was literally a puzzle for a 4-year-old. You know.
I love that though because it's one thing to just completely like circumvent the puzzle. It's another thing to beat it with 0 effort. Yeah. Because the GM can't even like be mad about it. They just are gonna feel bad about themselves. Yeah. They did what you asked them to do.
0 IQ solution. You know.
Yeah. Just fucking. Well, I've tried to do that before where whenever it's a combination puzzle in a game like that, I'm like, all right, we sit here for however many hours and we try every combination.
Right, yeah.
Like,
and they're like, but you gotta, and you're like, no, we do it.
No, we're going to brute force this.
Yeah.
3 long rests? Fine. Fuck it. I set up alarm at the door. Who cares? Yeah.
I think if riddles are puzzles, I mean, any puzzle we've ever had is always a riddle for me. I can't remember, like,
oh, yeah.
If it is a puzzle, it probably Ben was going to solve it.
Check out the hook while the
I feel like there was one like even this year where we were like, wow, there's a really complicated stuff, and then we looked over and Ben's like, it's this, and we're like, we trust what Ben says, and then it was right, and we're like, thank you, and like we just didn't have to work on it.
Well, no, there was like I know there's been a couple where it's like, oh, it's a cryptography thing, and like I do
maybe
cryptography for fun, you know, like simple cryptography stuff, but you know, that's a fun leisure activity for me, you know,
right?
So it's just like, okay, this is our puzzle. Okay.
I feel like
yeah.
If you're running into puzzles though that there's a reason why puzzles have kind of like fallen off in like role playing games in general. I really think the last system to have any guidance on it was really like 4th edition.
Yeah.
Because it's like if you're giving them like a cryptographic puzzle or like a riddle or like a one of those like block puzzles or whatever, it's like it's not really diegetic at all. Yeah. It's not really like okay, my players are making an int roll or just do it. It's not something that you would be able to resolve through like through playing the game. It's something that you could reduce to a check, but now the GM's making you do it.
It's almost so physical sometimes that in a theater of the mind, it's just like you need to give me the resources to do this puzzle.
Yes.
Don't just tell me it. Because then you're like, this is how I think the puzzle is. Like, no, that's not the puzzle.
Yeah, trying to translate a puzzle to the theater of the mind is fucking nuts.
It's usually happens.
I was going to say, actually, how did you think about, because there was the one in like the tomb in my game, the Giant's Tomb, that's like, and that's built into the adventure. What did you guys think about that one?
Which one
we had
was
to do?
That?
Yeah, that was the one where the swords attacked.
Yeah, but before the swords attacked, you had to like open the doors for that. You said to put like the right things in the right braziers.
I think it was simple enough.
Yeah.
I think it was well written because it was simple enough.
I don't quite remember it.
And they were all marked with runes, and it was just like you had
a story about
and there was a poem related to them. You know,
was it recent?
Yeah, that was recent. That was in the session before the.
No, remember Jamie showed up after that.
Oh,
the giant attacked, and he helped us finish.
You weren't there for that session. Never mind.
Right. Okay.
He helped us.
I was going to say, I'm like, I really don't remember.
We're like badly bloodied, and then you're like, "Hey, it's me!" And you killed the giant, and we're like,
Thank fucking God! Thank God the tank showed up.
Yeah,
Oh
you
God!
guys look tired, and we're like,
Yeah, that was fun because like that
Yes,
was
he was
like
after
one
that.
of the openings of that fight was the giant like rocketing Ryan's character across the.
I remember
the
hearing
map.
about that.
he
I remember
downed people
showing
quickly.
up.
Yeah.
Yes, I remember showing
Yeah.
up at the end of that.
and
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
like, "Oh my God, 2 people are down," and you're like, "Hi, I'm fully healed."
Yeah, hello,
Yeah.
here to save the day.
Smite, and we're like,
Thank God.
because we were running.
Hello,
When you
I've
showed
been
up, we were
shitting
running.
in the woods for the last 2 hours. How is everything
Yeah.
with you guys?
Man, I wish I had it's hard to wipe your ass with snow. It just keeps coming.
Yeah, no. When you showed up, we were all booking it, and
Right.
then you were so you weren't damaged at all, so you could help finish it.
It was tight.
But we were literally
It was
all
clutch.
running in different directions.
Yeah, the party was
That's
about to
so
scatter,
fucking
and then
funny.
you showed up.
Yeah,
and
we were
turned the tide.
scattering.
Yeah, yeah.
Man,
At the end
I
of the
didn't realize
session.
just how much I turned that fucking thing
We
around.
were all like
Jesus.
like 15 or less hit points, I believe.
Fuck
There were a
me.
couple at 0. Yeah.
was
Yeah.
nuts.
So you showed up like, "What's going on, guys?" I'm like, go attack.
But see, the reason why that puzzle is memorable is because it went wrong.
Right.
Not
Well,
necessarily because
no.
it led to death.
No, actually, it didn't.
They did the puzzle perfectly right. It was just that there was a trap inside the puzzle, and then
Which I knew.
getting the treasure attracted the ire of someone who
Well,
happened to be in the area.
But that's what I mean is like
which is again written in the adventure.
I
yeah,
feel
yeah.
like the only memorable traps, like you prefaced it with, well, it's a memorable, not good.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any good puzzles that are memorable.
Yeah.
Because the puzzle itself was fine, but the
I'm
reason
gonna
why you
forget it,
remember
yeah.
it is
Yeah.
because of how fucked the immediate aftermath of solving the puzzle was. Because I can't think of any puzzle. Well, there's a puzzle. Speaking about pre-written puzzles in 5th edition modules,
Yeah.
the puzzles in Tomb of Annihilation are fucking garbage.
Yeah, we never
Garbo
played that far
poopy.
into that. So
I remember them
Oh,
being. Well, I remember
man.
Casey doing some of them about the mirrors, and I was like, "How are we supposed to know anything?"
right.
Yeah, I do remember them being super
Yeah,
difficult.
yeah.
Because I think around that time, I mean, I know that they've been slowly switching to more of like a theater of the mind narrative-centric design. I feel like that was around the time they expected you to be using like a battle mat.
Right.
Basically.
Yeah.
Yes,
You
I
know.
think they did. Yeah.
And I think if I were to do any other puzzles, I mean, what I really like about Pathfinder's exploration mode is even when you're not in combat, you're still on the mat. And when you hit hazards, they're in specific spots that have a specific stat block and rules to solve it within the bounds of the mechanics.
Right.
I think that's probably going to be the closest I ever get to running a puzzle again because it's diegetic, it's in the system. You
Right.
see it all on the map, even if there's not really a visual representation of the puzzle. You know where it is, you kind of know what it's about, and you know what the rule set is going to be
Right.
to resolve it.
I mean,
and like,
yeah, I feel like a lot of
you know.
time hazards feel more diegetic for that anyway. Like a lot of puzzles feel very forced. It's like,
Yes.
why did they put a
it's like
puzzle
Skyrim
here?
puzzles.
Yeah, why did they put
Yeah.
a puzzle here?
I feel like if you
what
DM
was the purpose of that?
Yeah,
you
like
know?
a puzzle
I agree.
once or twice, you were like,
Yeah.
"How do I ever make it interesting?" Because it's always just like, "Oh, we're doing a puzzle. Now we're wasting 2 hours trying to figure out what even the basic rules are."
Yeah,
for
what
this
even the
puzzle."
premise
Yeah.
of the puzzle is.
I mean, I don't know if
Yeah.
you'd count it as a puzzle, but I did think it was very funny the session that I made them all take a pop quiz in my
Yes,
Spelljammer game.
it's
that's
a robot freaking
I-
thing on the bridge. Yeah,
Yeah,
I did that in an OSR game because I was
Yeah.
I was doing random Gonzo dungeon generation and I decided
Yeah.
this one room was going to be like I literally pulled up a BuzzFeed like quiz list.
Oh, that's
and
funny.
people really thought it was funny because for the same reason for yours is because it's just so
Yeah.
It's
out of it.
different.
It's just so yeah. Like what
Yeah.
we're now like
it's a nice
you're-
difference. Doing
yeah,
a
it's
quiz is
cute.
not a bad because it's like, what's the
Yeah.
ramifications? You know,
Right.
We can
Well,
deal
and-
with it. Not a stop block.
Right, and it was
Right.
funny, one, because they all failed.
yeah.
I probably made it a little too hard, you know?
Still
Yeah,
funny.
of course
Yeah,
we did.
yeah, it was
And
very
then we
funny.
just attacked it. But
Yeah.
it wasn't like the game stopped.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
is why like
Didn't
puzzles
come
are like,
to
if you
all.
don't figure it out, oops, you're gonna keep
I
going.
think the
Yeah.
only way to actually do a puzzle in a tabletop role playing game is to run an investigative game.
Yeah,
But then the whole game is a puzzle.
right, yeah,
yeah,
you
then
know.
it's like, is it a puzzle or a mystery?
right.
Which
Yeah,
is, yes,
mystery
I
is
know
a
they're the
puzzle.
same
Yeah.
wording.
Yeah, I think there's a
But
lot
it's
of
a
overlap.
different
yeah,
feel.
yeah.
Would you call Impossible Landscapes a puzzle?
No,
No, that's
It
why
doesn't
I'm,
have
that's
a
what I'm
solution.
saying.
Okay.
There is no arrangement of pieces that makes everything work.
But I know why
That's
you're using
true.
the word
That's
because
true.
yes,
Yeah.
it's a puzzle, but but it's not a puzzle.
Well, I guess broader. Maybe Impossible Landscapes in particular is a bad example.
Everything sucks in a circle.
Yeah,
everything sucks no matter what.
Yeah,
Nothing
yeah.
mattered.
Yeah.
Anyway, solve this Rubik's Cube.
Yeah. Anyway, here's a riddle from The Hobbit. Yeah. What walks with what 4 legs in the morning. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I would say like something like Delta Green. If you're just running like a normal Delta Green scenario and it's like, here are the pieces, you need to figure it out or something's going to go bad. That's probably the closest I'd be willing to actually running a puzzle in a game.
Yeah.
But you have to devote the entirety of the game space to a puzzle.
I mean,
it's like a Sherlock Holmes story.
It is funny, like some mystery books, like they act like you should know what the culprit is in the beginning.
They're fucking
but they
audacious.
never do.
Yeah.
I think like when I've read a lot of that stuff, or even like watching Columbo, it's always like, oh, there's another tangent. But there's there's an assumption that you can figure it out on your own. But a lot of time the story is written for you to actually not have all the information until the end, like
Which
the character.
I think is bad mystery writing. Fucking Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmeses, they actually do what I think is a good medium where at the end, when he's explaining how he knew what Moriarty's plan was or whatever, the end of the second movie, when he's showing all of it, you're like, oh, I could have figured it out, but I wasn't very likely to.
Right.
Until I had seen it.
But you want to hear the tangent?
I want to hear the tangent.
So while researching ADD stuff, we just talked about off mic stuff.
Yeah.
There's other YouTube shorts that talk about like the stuff ADD has, and one of the things they profess is that you're going to get annoyed about mystery movies because you're always going to know beforehand.
Interesting.
They're like, ADD, one thing you might just know all the mysteries, which I'm like, really? You're just going to know it? But they're like, one of the superpowers of mystery movies is that your partner is going to be watching and enjoying the movie, and you're going to figure it out in the beginning, and then you're not going to like the movie or something.
I mean,
and I was like, what?
I don't really watch many mystery movies, so I can't comment on that. But like, I mean, I enjoyed. Well, okay, I was going to say
I feel like
the ones that I enjoyed that I've seen recently were Knives Out and Glass Onion, which were great, but sort of that was the point of them. It was sort of obvious who did it, but then it tricked you into thinking it wasn't obvious. Like that was.
But
the,
they're
the
saying like you would watch Knives Out, and the first 5 minutes you would like, oh yeah, it's this guy, and then you would just basically be just like, oh yeah, that's it.
No, but
I'm like,
those
is
movies,
ADD? That's what gives you that? I don't know about that.
I've never experienced that. But I also don't really watch or read mysteries, so it's not like
I think when it's like describing almost a superpower, I'm like, really? That's an ADD thing?
No.
Is you're just gonna know every mystery movie?
That doesn't sound real to me. But also, I don't have the personal experience, because. For the audience, I do have ADD.
But yeah, that's why I'm saying it's like a rant, but it's directly talking about that.
It drives me crazy whenever you hear stuff like that. That's like, there's superpowers because you're like autistic, or superpowers because you're like gay, and that you could just always get laid or whatever. It's just like, I don't know. It's just such it's always a reductive kind of way of like,
okay.
It's like saying like, oh, it's like literally being like, hey, all humans are on a point-buy system. And even though you have these inherently negative things, you get these inherently positive things. And it's like, it's kind of dangerous to describe any quality of a person in that way as negative or positive.
But I saw a video that normally was like, here's the issues you have with ADD. Here's one of the issues that you might not know about, is that you understand mystery movies so well you're like bored. Like,
you're just brain.
Okay, this one you don't got this
psionics.
Bullshit. Don't do that.
Yeah.
But like, puzzles. I don't think I've described any puzzles yet. But like, usually the puzzles you had. If I ever wanted to do a puzzle early on, it was like, oh, this is a really cool puzzle I did, or I wanted to do. And then we've just done so many different puzzles over the years. Not that many, honestly, because every time we do it, it just completely slows the game down.
Yeah,
we're all like, you can't follow the puzzle until you're done.
It's one of those. It's one of those things I've taken out of my repertoire over the years because it is the thing that slows down the game.
Right.
Like I try to, when I run games now, I try to make it like a lean, mean machine.
Yeah.
Because the number of times I've spaced out at games, the number of times other people spaced out at games, it's just like there's no time.
Right.
If it's not immediately interesting,
who
cares?
I think it's because it's puzzles that are nothing to do with the game that you're trying to make into the game, instead of like a 5th edition adventure. If it's a puzzle, it probably would be worked on. Which is funny, that puzzle you did is very similar to the puzzle in Silent Hill 2. And it's similar. Which in Silent Hill 2, there's several ones. Because I played the game recently. It was a poem about. Well, it was like 5 prisoners. and it's actually very simple because there's harder actually puzzles if you do it hard. But it was like, this is the prisoner. It was which one's innocent, and it was like. Actually, I mean, I was stupid because I just didn't want to like spend that much time thinking about it. Mm-hmm. So I just went like quick walkthrough. I'm like, I just want to play the story. I know this is a really good, famous game, but I don't want to spend time in it. Like, if it takes a little bit longer than I want, I'm going to just stop. So, yeah, it was one where it was a poem about every prisoner, and the last one was like, there's a guy who I think was thieving, and then a guy arrested him.
Yeah.
And then it was like, that's the one that was innocent. And then you would match it that way. So that was similar to like what you had, which is the poem describes all the answers.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, other puzzles, like trying to do anything that would normally be a physical thing. Like if you have to write it down, you need to give the players like everything they need to know.
Yeah.
Because Theater of Mind does not work. Stop describing the same thing six times. Give them in printed form.
Here's an interesting.
You can't just do that.
Let's do a hot take.
Oh,
let's do a hot take
How
on
spicy?
that. What you basically just said, which I know you didn't mean it this way, but theater of the mind is bad.
That's too broad.
Is it too broad?
It's too broad.
I think there's situations that I prefer it for, but that's basically like, is it something that it matters to draw out? Like, okay, cool. We're in this situation. Do I need to draw it out? That's it.
I don't think that theater of the mind necessarily applies to just maps, though.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of times when people say theater of the mind, they're like, I need like a geographical positioning. But think about Burning Wheel. There is mechanical positioning. Yeah. Even if I can't necessarily picture how a scene is like structured or whatever, it doesn't really matter because the rules don't have any rules for like moving or whatever. All you have to do is where am I at in this process?
Right.
And you still have a locationality.
I was going to say in sort of going back to
I was about
Legend
to say Matt does this well. Yeah.
Well, Legend of the Five Rings is designed around Theater of the Mind because range bands do not work
almost arbitrary
on an actual map.
Yeah, pretty much arbitrary.
No.
Yeah,
it's built. You can in the main book.
Yeah,
but it's like
I figured you were basically just ignoring range bands. I
just don't want to build a map.
They sort of came up in a way that made sense, but it was like, okay, cool. In those confined quarters, nothing is beyond range 2. Like that's which is
Legend of the Five Ring is like, are you up against it? Okay, do it. Like, don't fucking position it that hard.
I felt like I didn't need to know where anything necessarily was. All I needed to know was the situation, how I was going to justify it within my rings, and then the little fiddly mechanics regarding how the dice stuff gets resolved. Like it was it does the same thing Burning Wheel does, but in a much like simpler way. And I found myself like, when you were describing things, I'm like, all I cared about is that it's evocative. Right. And that I have a general idea, and then I was just able to focus on the system. I never felt lost, even though I didn't have a map.
I do think Theater of the Mind. Talking about it like that, you're right. Where it's like if it's a system designed around it, it works very well. Mm-hmm. If it's a system designed for like precise numbers,
then it sucks.
Move exactly 60 feet this round.
Well, Lancer begs for that.
Yeah, and then, you
have to know the distance.
I mean, the obvious example is D&D 5th Edition, where it's like, it's a narrative game you can play with Theater of the Mind. By the way, this has a range of 120 feet.
It does not work.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't.
Unless it's a short scene. But yeah, like Rokugan is like, are you there? You will be there next turn.
There needs
that's the kind of range bands that work.
There needs to be. I understand how range bands work because like Alien and stuff use them, but I always ignore them because I've never found them adding enough depth. They have the same problem that 5th Edition has, where it's like, if it doesn't really, as long as you're not like a certain range band away, it doesn't really matter. You're always going to have enough. I mean, there's even people who play Pathfinder 2 Theater of the Mind because everything can be measured in actions.
Right.
Instead of it being like, it's 30 feet, it'll take one action to move over there. Right. It still doesn't work, but it works better.
Right.
I guess.
No, I think with Rokugan, I think there's a handful of situations where it makes sense to really use range bands because that's like, oh, hey, we got to figure out a way to deal with all those archers up on that, whatever.
Which there is mass battles, which I think would also just get rid of that, though.
Well, I think mass battles have range bands, though.
It would,
makes
but
sense
it'd be
for
like
mass battles.
It's such a mass battle, you probably wouldn't.
But
care.
again, then you get into wargaming stuff again, right? Where Theater of the Mind
play a
stops.
war game.
Yeah, just play a war game, right?
Yeah. For Rokugan, I just didn't want to. I just didn't put mental stuff in it. Like even when we did the Kappa fight. I was like almost should have done combat rules, but I didn't want to focus on the scene too much, so I moved combat.
Especially because it was a
big
diversion.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I still can't believe that this was all not a pre-written adventure. You've been doing a godly amount of prep.
Yeah, I mean, it was something I let simmer. I think one thing I've noticed recently was that in a bad way and good way, I'll simmer things in my mind. So I'll like it almost like, because it's not an ADD thing, it's almost like hyperfixation.
Yeah.
But I will just let things simmer casually throughout the week.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it really helps because I drive so often, which I did when I originally ran my 5th edition Asian venture, which is I drove so often I would just get to just think about those things all the time. And then I get to have ideas, which is like, for you guys, it'd be like, for years, it would basically like, this is the situation I have. And then certain section of this, I would be like, oh, that's interesting. I'll simmer on that idea. And then think. Oh, okay. That's maybe not going to work. And then I simmer, I just keep redoing the script
Your background,
over and over
it's
again.
like a background process.
Yeah,
that
for
you've
me,
just got going on all
that's
the time.
how I go,
Yeah.
is that I'm constantly thinking, like, there's several things, like this adventure has actually been thought about like years ago.
Yeah.
It's just recently it's changed a lot though.
It probably helps because you work a job where, not that your job is brainless, obviously. You have to think a lot about a lot of stuff, but there are long stretches of time where it's like you could just be in your own head, really.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, it's funny because, I'm usually running everything all the time. Not working, I'm running everything.
Right.
And
I
even
would-
friends group, I'm the communication fucking beacon.
You are.
So
You are the
the
beacon.
switchboard.
I am literally always thinking
Switchboard
about those
operator.
things. But then, also, I just be like, that's an interesting idea. I don't know how, it's like, I just put it there, and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to think about it.
I mean, I think that's I was going to say I do that a
It can be
decent
bad.
amount with mine.
Okay.
But my sort of place to think about it is usually walking. That's
Which is the traditional thing to do.
You do have
Yeah.
a dedicated time to do it.
Yeah.
that's
which is
true.
really cool.
Yeah.
You walk it every day.
Not quite every day, but
Pretty
close
much.
enough. Yeah.
Pretty
yeah.
much every day.
But yeah, no, that's just a time for it. It's a dedicated
That's
period of
a
time
classic
that,
way to
I
do it.
have, the space where it's like, well, what else am I going to do?
Yeah. No,
That's the best way to do it.
It's
but-
meditative. I
but,
mean,
yeah.
it's you're literally just there with your own thoughts, so you can sort all that shit out.
Yeah, and it does, because then I sort of run through like potential, like why are they doing stuff? That's because that's the thing I care about a lot is, okay, but like, why is this person doing anything? What makes them? What motivates them? Why are they
I think
here?
for
How do they
me-
interact with this other person?
I think why
all
was
that,
was originally why I got hung
Yeah.
up on a lot of stuff. So I think I've actually backed up from why.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of why no player will ever care about.
Yes.
I backed up from
I
why
agree
because
with
that would screw me up from not DMing for years.
It's one of those things that it's like,
Yeah. I care about it though, so it's I'm answering the questions for me, and it informs the game.
It does. It does make the game better. It does
Yeah.
add a layer of depth when you have all the answers to the why. But I think it is important to remember, it's not that the players don't care, it's just that they will never care as much as you do.
Right. Yeah.
And I think when you focus more on, like, why are they doing it? Because they want to play a game.
Right. Yeah.
There's something I noticed in so I'm going to be running Quest for the Frozen Flame. So I'm running Outlaws of Alkenstar for you guys, and then Quest of the Frozen Flame for another group.
Cool.
And there's a character. Oh, if you're playing in Quest of the Frozen Flame, stop listening right now.
You be vague
Because-
about it.
Yeah. Well,
you can't.
it's pretty odd. Honestly, I imagined it was going to come up pretty much immediately. There's a character that definitely betrays people. That like it's a whole
Yeah, you
plot
can say
point.
that vaguely.
It's a whole
Yeah.
plot point where they get betrayed or whatever, and it's kind of obvious enough that the players wouldn't be remiss to say like, oh, we're gonna kill this guy, especially because there's like this whole mechanics segment where it's like you get in this like wrestling match that may or may not turn fatal or whatever, but it's still assuming that you're not killing them. And with Paizo removing alignment, the idea is that it's like you're just going to have fun doing the wrestling match, even though you know that it's probably this guy's eventually going to betray you.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's made me think about, like, because there is distinct mechanical benefits and downsides to losing, but not really a narrative one. And it's one of those things that it's like, I don't, because it kind of pertains to why.
Yeah.
It's like, do I think, it's going to be kind of a test. Do I think the players are actually going to give a shit? Do I think they understand that it's like, oh yeah, we kind of understand what's going on. We're kind of going through this song and dance. That's fine. It's still fun to do, and it still has an impact on the game, and we can joke about it or whatever. Or is it something that they're like, why wouldn't we just kill him immediately if he's a threat to our tribe or whatever? You know what I mean? But I'm trying to learn not to worry about that because I feel like more often than not, they're just going to be happy to play and interact with the game and do something interesting that has impact.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, I think, because I was going to say similarly in my game, there was a character who, I don't think I made it crazy obvious that they were going to betray you, but, they did. And also, you guys are always paranoid towards every NPC.
Oh,
yeah, I don't think
especially
we
me.
do.
I'm fucking...
Yeah.
I mean, I think that...
Yeah, I was going to say, did you call that ahead of time with Selm betraying you guys?
I don't know if I knew enough of that person.
I don't think
that was
so.
the guide, yeah.
No, we didn't catch that at all. No.
Okay.
No, that
I
completely
didn't
went
catch
over
that
our
person
heads.
would. I was just like, oh, okay, wow. We're killing them.
Yeah, I get it.
But I think for me, why was stopping me because it was a infinite progression of dominoes.
Yeah.
And it was trying to assume I could figure out what players are going to do, which obviously sounds stupid. But it's just like, for me, I was like, how do I plan a campaign if they're always going to move the dominoes?
Right.
And
Right.
so, yeah, I have a different system now that doesn't matter for the dominoes because it is planned adventures mixed with other stuff.
I think that's the way we all tend
Yeah.
to do it. I think that's the best
Yeah.
way to do it is a mix of your own stuff and some riffs and then published adventures. That
Yeah,
seems to be
Yeah.
a good basis.
But
Yeah.
like it was, yeah, I think the adventure you guys are on now, yeah, literally was, everything was basically, the beats were basically all similar. For years, I've had the same beats. Like whatever, when it was you guys originally doing the first group, like all the stuff was similarly gonna happen. But then like last time it was, okay, you guys just dealt with the party. I think it's gonna be too fast to go to the cabin. I'm gonna add the kappa. And then I was like, let's add some more story beats because I think time wise, you guys are gonna get there too fast, and I want that to be a ending thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Which it almost was like too much because we kind of sped up the end.
yeah, I see, because
Right.
you did kind of skip over the kappa, like you almost, well, not skip over it, but we kind of sped through it almost like you realized it might have,
I mean,
it might
it's
end up taking too long.
No, it's exactly what was going to happen. He's only going to run away. You were not supposed to fight him.
right.
It's an ambush predator. He was going to run away.
Okay.
I thought that was,
yeah.
it was a cool flavor. I liked that a lot. I definitely felt like the world was alive. There was more than just what we were doing. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah, and I was originally going to have the first yokai you guys were going to have, what you guys were just dealing with, because it just kind of showed up. But then it was like, which is funny because I didn't want the kappa to be seen technically, but technically Ben saw it because he had flames in the water.
Yeah.
Right.
Because the big thing is like,
Purely
I
because
have
of my specific ability that
That's
I happen
cool
to
as
have.
shit.
yeah,
to
and for me to
use.
do like the
That's
horror,
rad as
the
hell.
horror
I like
element
that.
is to not see your monsters. So the whole thing was like, there's something that just drowned a child, and then no one sees it and it goes away. But like, there's an inclination of like, oh, that's a really known lore. It goes away, but technically he's actually seen it.
Yeah.
So it wasn't gonna. So technically, in the rules, yeah, he's the only one that's seen it. No one else has. So their first yokai is technically the one you guys just got to, but because of Ben's powers, he's actually seen two.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So it's trying to be more horror elementy,
Right.
which is like, don't show them like, oh, they're there. It's like, yeah, for technically, it's been for you guys, it's been what, 3 adventures or 2? Yours and your second one.
Second.
But yeah, for the original group, it was like 3 to 4 sessions before they saw the first thing they were supposed to
Right,
be there for.
yeah.
Oh yeah, because this is the continuation of a game that we played like 2 years ago.
Yeah, so like I
3
said,
years ago,
I've
yeah.
simmered it.
You've fucking simmered like crazy.
And then yeah, there's different elements to be like, okay, now players can do this and that, and let's use what they have.
I do think that is a really great piece of advice as well, especially if you're not necessarily sure how far your content's gonna go. Don't show your hand. I am always.
Casey would definitely say that.
He's
all about mystery.
He's very good at that. I'm very bad at that. I want to get I try to get a ton of stuff out in the open because I'm just excited. I just want
Yeah.
to talk about it. I just want to know about it. But it's
Yeah,
like,
I'm a hybrid. Yeah,
I
have a problem with not revealing the truth.
I will say Casey,
Oh, I see.
I feel like falls into like a J.J. Abrams sort of trap where it's like, okay,
There's a
cool.
box, yeah.
There's a box. There's all this mystery surrounding it. How does it resolve? How does it finish?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The box gets really sparkly, but then you never open it.
And that is true. But especially Ravenloft is a good example. I don't really care. I like the sparkles. You know, like how cool the boxes.
No, I liked Ravenloft. I liked
Ravenloft with it. Ravenloft. I don't think I'll ever be in a game like that again. That was crazy.
Well, that was
special.
part of it was the way we got in, the way we did it. You know, like character wise and whatnot.
Yeah.
But also specifically you and I. You know, that was I really enjoyed.
Chef's kiss.
I loved that my character died by basically exactly the amount of HP damage that you dealt to him in the elevator.
It is.
Yeah,
it's fucking
so beautiful.
Insane how narratively perfect that all.
Yeah,
it's uncanny. It's kind of creepy.
You might get another Ravenloft because technically, by our group lore, I ran an Agent Adventure game for I think a year or two, and then Casey did Ravenloft after his hiatus.
Oh,
I don't run until Casey goes. It's like a weird thing.
That's
I just
true.
don't run until Casey's out.
So what you're saying is the best Casey game is the one that comes after a Matt game and not after a
I run for a while.
Right.
He feels like running.
I see.
That's actually how it's been going.
Yeah, it's a flat circle.
Interesting. Okay.
Nothing is original.
Because it was Raven. Yeah, I was running Agent Adventure a while.
That's awesome.
And they're like, you should keep running. I'm like, I just burned out. I just wrote myself in a corner so quickly and was so worried about the why. Because, I read the history of China, history of Japan, as I've said before.
Yeah.
I read these
you
things
actually do research.
Didn't matter.
Yeah.
None of it mattered because none of it describes an interesting amount of the story. And so, what I do now is I just simmered on a lot of ideas, and then I use learn from Casey is you use published adventures to help fix structure.
Yeah.
Because then you're not freaking stuck on how does everything work how do I make sure adventures don't fuck everything over?
Right.
It's just because they can, but these things are gonna happen.
Oh yeah,
get over it.
See, that's sort of the way I view it is a little bit of more of the the adventures feature in a very limited way in a handful of the plans, but mostly they don't. They're just there doing whatever they want, and everyone who had things going now has to react to them. You know, they had this whole scheme. Going.
That's what Casey's talked about too.
That's
and they got to deal with you now.
That's something I learned.
They had
to deal with you specifically.
They had a plan beforehand.
Yeah, the Chronicles of Darkness core rule book, or the God Machine Chronicle at the time. What it taught, it introduced like a way they do Adventure Design's blueprint. Yeah. It's like this is how things are supposed to go if the players don't get involved, and that's such a great thing to think about because that resolves pretty much everything. Because it's like you're on this trajectory. The adventurers get involved. You know how to kind of move things an inch or two over to make it. Yeah, because you know how it's supposed to.
Actually, if you guys didn't get involved, what would be left of Icewind Dale?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah,
and it'd be settled with Dwerger now. Actually, or it wouldn't because there would be nothing.
Yeah, there'd be literally nothing.
Literally, the thing they built would have destroyed them too.
Like ice or just nothing.
Dead people. Ruins.
I think
Ice would still be there.
So no one would ever go to Icewind Dale. There'd be rumors of hey, I've heard that's just a wasteland.
Yeah,
where the dead spirits roam or some shit.
And then probably the dragon, the Sarlacc dragon would move on and just destroy somewhere else until it eventually was brought down, and then people might move back. Who knows? But it would just be empty.
Long era, probably destruction. Yeah.
But the Frostmaiden would lose power too because she depends on everyone's fear.
Yeah.
And if there's no one to fear.
Yeah, who's the Frostmaiden?
Yeah.
Oh, everyone's dead who knew about her.
Exactly. Yeah. So
that's interesting.
That without the player involvement, that's the end of things. It's depopulated, and the Frostmaiden loses because there's no one to be afraid of her.
Yeah, and she ruins herself.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's technically the players don't need to be involved for it to get resolved, but at the same time, it'll get resolved, but not before 100,000 people die.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the default ending, I would say. Yeah.
And at that point, it's statistic. I don't care.
And I think what Marvel also teaches in how they write things is one of the best movies I think are Spider-Man movies, which are really good with scaling down the problems. Because Spider-Man movies were during and a little bit after the big hubbub, but they're known for being the best because the conflicts of the character are so personal that it doesn't matter how big the scale is. It's you're interested as an audience member.
It's relatable.
Yeah, like Homecoming,
way more relatable.
I remember watching Homecoming after a couple, and I was like, wow, this is way better than everything. And then even the sequel, actually, I never saw the sequel. I saw the third one, but all of it was like smaller scale. No, the universe is not in a big shitty way, but for Spider-Man, it is.
Yeah,
And that's way more interesting. Is like it's you care about the conflict. Instead of, the Time Lord's going to destroy the universe. I don't give a shit. This is a fictional universe. But for, like, Spider-Man, it's just like, isn't everyone going to know who he is? Does, like, is MJ ever going to be a relationship?
Right.
What's happening with school? And then villains are going to hurt people he loves.
Yeah,
Like, concrete things that had nothing to do with if Time Lord's going to destroy things.
Yeah. No, it
And so it's like having adventures where
it matters.
It doesn't matter how big the scale is. Like, you don't need an adventure where, like, the entire realm's going to give a shit about you doing stuff. You need to write an adventure that it matters to the players.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that can be really hard to do because it's hard to anticipate ahead of time what the players care about. Even Burning Wheel beliefs and stuff aren't necessarily great because it's like, oh, well, I hope I write something that then caters to those beliefs appropriately. I feel like in Man and Beast, the one-page vampire thing I wrote, the players do have a hand in, like, defining the world a bit by, like, oh, here's some problems that are affecting the city, and here's some characters that are involved, and then you inject something into it. So by building everything together and then injecting something into it, it immediately is like, oh, I'm changing the status quo of something you made and you care about.
Right.
And, but that's hard to capture in a lot of other games.
And also, like, obviously, if you know your players, there's ways you can make them care about stuff. Like, for you, all we got to do is give you an authority figure, and
yes,
he'll die.
It's done.
He'll die.
Give me a modicum of power. That's the other way too. Is make me an authority figure. And it goes the other way. It ends disastrously.
Yeah, and I think I've seen it with, like, if people don't care in the beginning, it's very hard to, like, keep that going.
Yes,
right.
If they don't care in the beginning, you might as well just not. You might as well just try a different game.
Yeah, which is difficult sometimes.
It's
hard. That's almost
like
the writing term of, like, what, kill your child?
Kill your darlings.
Kill your darlings.
Kill your child. Yeah.
Murder your
child.
Early DMing is like, I really want to do this puzzle. And then exactly if you know that statement, is that fun though? And it's not.
Yeah, and everyone's like, no, I hate you. Please stop making me do this.
Yeah.
This is your Isaac. I am Yahweh commanding you. Kill your child.
You will do this puzzle.
And then that's hard because you're like, this is really interesting. But yeah, while I think that's helped me when I'm simmering, it's definitely like simmering. There's definitely concepts in the adventures you guys, or even the very little adventures you guys did, that I was like, oh, this is a really good concept. But then I like simmered, and then I was like, but I don't think that's going to work.
You have to ask.
It just won't work.
You have to ask the hardest question ever, which is who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah, like in the forest you guys were in, where it was darkness, I specifically made something so, like, because you were talking about you were doing talisman stuff, and I was like, okay, you literally make something, the talismans that Jimmy could be engaged with, that he can be working on it. And then you guys all three shaman people hackneyed MacGyvered a way to get rid of it. Because it was like you guys are all kind of in a frontier. With Magic, in like a lot of systems, like 5th is like it's figured out.
Yeah.
Really, in what Legends is kind of built is like, no, you're in a frontier. Like, you could always, like, even the novels, I'm reading the novels every night. I'm reading a lot of things every night.
The Rokugan novels,
but it's like the novel, the Gay Samurai thing I've been reading.
Yeah.
I'm on the sequel, and reading a chapter a night. But yeah, in the first, they did a March of 100 Demons, and then this village gets just taken over, and the main guy, who's like a Phoenix Clan guy who's trying to fix everything, all the peasants are like, what are you gonna do? How are you gonna fix everything? And he goes, oh, I got it, because he still has that hierarchy he has to deal with. They're like, yeah, no, I have to fix this. And the whole time he's like, I don't know, this is like charms and stuff I don't know about.
Right.
The village is protected by like 1,000-year-old thing, a ghost who's dead.
I don't know what the fuck
I don't know how to do it.
Right.
Yeah. So then you guys are in the same boat, which is you're shamans in a frontier of all. It's almost, actually, I didn't realize it's Jack Vancian.
Yeah.
There's tons of ancient knowledge you just don't know.
Yes.
You just can't know it all.
That and it almost feels like in Rokugan, it feels like there can't be standardization. Like every part of it, it's like these are arts, and they're petitioning whatever capricious being for power for a second, you know.
Yeah.
Like there is no standardization possible in that setting,
Right.
you know.
Yeah. So then
true.
the adventure, it's just like as long as it makes sense within the setting and you put effort in it,
Yeah.
you will to power almost in a Nietzschean way,
Yeah.
then it probably can happen unless it's like completely against the forces of nature.
Right.
Or someone doesn't want it to happen, then that can happen. But anyway, I was getting to the darling part, which was that I was thinking of having basically a puzzle, which is that you have to be silent for a minute straight. And I was like, I just don't think that's interesting.
That is kind of interesting.
Because you guys were going to be in
my
the dark
interest kinda
forest.
peaked.
I was describing you as like, completely isolated almost within yourselves and within your own senses. Everything's dulled, sight, smell, feeling. Like, before you were checking the earth before and how you felt the earth with underneath you and how like everything became more tactile for the moments you were studying Casey's character. But in that moment, it was going to be, you can't understand the darkness until you quiet your mind. And so the puzzle was going to be, everyone's going to shut up for 1 minute solid in real time.
I like that. I like that.
But
a
I
lot.
was like,
I feel like there are things
I
you
could
could
do it, but then I just didn't want to do it.
I feel like, I feel like there are things you could have, non-diegetic things you could have done, like when there was a break in the conversation to kind of like indicate, like for us to slowly figure out we need to be silent. But yeah, like actually us just trying to figure out how,
I would probably make it eventually pretty obvious with checks. I wasn't going to be like, oh, you're never going to figure out.
Right.
But I was basically
Right,
just going
right,
to be like, in real time, everyone's going to be silent for 1 minute. And then you can refocus your mind and the forest gives way.
It would be interesting if you had like the light dimmer, and then like when people when there's a break in the conversation, you
true.
start dimming it
I
a
could
bit.
do
And the moment
that,
someone
yeah.
talks, it goes back up, and then slowly we kind of figure it out.
Right.
you
But
know?
then like in a momentum of a game, I was
or the
like,
other way around.
because last time I felt like,
brightening.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's I like that.
I think last
then
time I felt like I was
make
almost
it
too fast.
with the light going all the way down. That would be a kind of a
Yeah,
I have a
tossing
phone.
lights
I have a
down.
dimmer.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
could just
you-
do that in the dimmer.
Yeah.
that could have been cool, but I see why you didn't do it. You were worried. You weren't. It had an uncertain momentum to it, and I did like.
And
the
I
Dark
felt like I
Forest
was
segment.
almost
I thought
too
that was
fast
fun.
last time.
was a
Where
little
like
fast,
there wasn't like a vision of everything. It was just checks. I'm afraid of it. Just everything feels like it's just a check and not a narrative.
I don't think you. I worry about that sometimes, but I really don't think you have to worry too much because people like rolling dice. People
Yeah.
like feeling empowered. People like using this stuff on their sheets.
Yeah.
And I always
Right.
think people should err on the side of shorter rather than longer.
I also agree. I'm usually breakneck when I would run.
Yeah.
Because like I was like,
I'm with
okay, should there be conversations during like talking? And I'm like, during you guys going up to the cabin, I'm like, no, not really. Why? Like me having like
we were
the
trying to
peasant.
sneak up the wall there.
Right.
So,
So
yeah.
like me having the peasant trying to talk about like life in Rokugan, like, no, that doesn't make any sense. And also like to me, if you're artificially slowing it down, then just being like, you get to your thing, something happens, you get to the thing, something happens, nothing. Because I'm always breakneck. I don't want things to stop in the games. Like even
I
even
completely
side
agree.
chatter from me, I'm like, I'll wait till you guys come back.
Yeah, I completely agree that I think that's
If we
part of that
end at
overall.
10, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want it to
Yeah.
end at like 12.
That overall engagement thing we were talking about, I think to maintain overall engagement, the moment stuff starts slowing down, that's usually an indicator that's like, all right, I should just wrap this up. Because it is like, I think we talked about that at length before, where it's like you only want to be playing when the momentum is at its peak. Because then everyone's going to be engaged, everyone's going to be fully energetic and in it. And if you're on either side of it, it's like either we're coming up or winding down.
Yeah, which I think
Yeah.
several times. I mean, because I haven't run that much. I'm just like, it's 9:30. What are we doing? Because are we keep
Yeah.
going?
Yeah.
Because as soon as one person says good, they probably thought that for the last 30 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and if everyone says good, then they already are in their mind going, oh, I have 30 minutes.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, because I think it's been going good. I think last time I felt like I was too fast, but then I can almost tell how people are engaged with because it got to like 10 and no one seemed to be slowing down.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I thought that was good because sometimes we've
Yeah.
had games where like it's 9 and people are slowing down.
Mm-hmm.
And then for me it was like the fact that people are engaged at 10, which usually is like heavy. Everyone's already pretty tired. is like that's good. For me, it's a good sign.
It was a really good sign. Yeah, I think everyone was really
if you want to talk about puzzles, it did feel like a bit of a puzzle figuring out the mechanics as we were playing to Legend of 5 Rings.
Oh my god! I really hope they do a new edition.
I really hope.
Oh my god!
That one came out in 2019. It's probably going to be a while.
No, it came out 2016 is when it started. Yeah.
No, it was more recent than you think. Yeah.
No, 2016.
It was more recent. No, it's done 2016.
5th edition of L5R came out.
I'm pretty sure it was 2019.
Legend of the 5 Rings.
It's way more recent than you think. I have the 4th edition almanac.
We just looked it up, didn't we?
Oh shit, we might have. I could be wrong.
I don't know.
5th edition book. Yeah,
Talk
it's
about
5th core.
but the
Yeah, no, it's messy, man. Yeah, we were talking about like, Jimmy,
and
you
there's
working for
no
them.
databases. There's no like actual online references for it.
Yeah.
That's a thing that
It doesn't have
that's
enough
a thing a game
devoted
needs.
like crazy
Right.
people
is
to fix it.
a reference, an online reference. Like it.
Oh yeah,
5th edition was 2018.
2018. Okay.
still
October
recent.
2018.
Dude, it has. Yeah,
I
they
thought
need
it was
to.
earlier.
They
Okay.
need to do like a 5.5 and just clean it up.
Yeah, no, they just need
Yeah.
to, they just need to do the thing.
There's so many times we've already been like,
yeah.
oh, we just slow this game down to figure out rules.
Yeah, just have a reference.
And
thing.
for me,
Just
I'm like,
okay, what is
we're
what
gonna
is
make this decision
What does
done.
this mean? How does this relate to this? Like, where are we putting this in the paragraph? Because like,
Yeah,
there's so
critical
many cheat
strikes we
sheets.
didn't talk about.
Yeah.
People should have been doing critical strikes this whole time.
Well, and that's
it's
the thing.
two opportunity. and
Yeah,
you do
it's two
critical strike.
opportunity. Exactly. That's the thing.
And
That
I
should
knew
be
it
in the
was
critical
there.
strike section.
Yeah,
Or in the
that should
attack
be.
section.
I didn't
'Cause it's
realize
like,
that.
It was sort of stuck in like, oh, hey, when you're doing skirmishes, here's another way you can spend opportunity.
Right.
And it's like,
And critical strikes means you actually hit them.
no, put that right in the critical strikes thing. It's like, hey,
It should be
this is a way
right
that can
there.
this
It's
can happen.
so
yeah,
flip-flop.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think the big problem
yeah.
is that like a lot of I've talked about this at length before. As a professional writer, it's like most role playing games are not written by professional writers, and it shows. They
It's super
they
shows.
really
it
need
definitely
fucking
shows
tech
there.
writers
Yeah.
doing editing passes.
Yeah, because when I watch videos
It's
about
a
people
manual. It's a
explaining
reference
it-
guide. Damn
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
When I watch people explaining it, they're just like, I love this game, but oh my god, how much work you have to put into it.
To understand it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm like, oh, okay, I can see what they want to do in this
it's
game.
super-
But this is why it makes it more frustrating because it stops at times you don't want it to stop.
Right.
It does feel like a super good union of like vibes and mechanics
Yeah.
when you know what the mechanics are.
Yes,
you know.
yeah.
I'm still super bad about the rings, like because really I'm supposed to be like you're gonna be doing like a water for this
Yeah.
test, not pick a ring. You're not supposed to pick a ring. I'm supposed to tell you specific rings.
Oh.
Right.
Okay.
And then if you want to deviate, it might get harder or easier.
Right.
Oh,
that's
I
the-
see.
Yeah, that's one of the big things.
But it's hard because I have to know the rings so
you
well.
need like a reference sheet for what
I
the
do,
rings
but it's like still
But
Earth
there's,
is
there's a
easy.
lot
That
of
is hard.
situations where, like I know in the stuff that's in the actual rules, like that we get access to, and powers and whatnot, they're like, hey, this is the default. They can hypothetically use any ring for it, but if they use this one, it's easier, and if they use this one, it's harder.
Yeah,
you know,
because the written adventures are like you
Yeah.
use a water 2 test.
Right.
Because in our rules, water makes the most sense for that thing.
right? Or it's water 2, air 1,
Yeah.
fire 4. You know,
Usually it's
Oh,
it's usually
yeah,
1 or
yeah.
2.
yeah,
But yeah, that's where it's like, yeah, it's supposed to be you talk to this guy, you yell at a guy, okay, you're gonna do water, yeah, okay, I'll first do water 3. Well, I want to do fire. Okay, you'll get him angry, but it's really hard, but you could do it. Which I like trying to do it that way.
yeah.
But it's not me pick a ring. It's supposed to be in this situation, if you want the straightforward path, this is the ring. You could always
Right.
decide a different one, but it's probably going to be harder.
Yeah, so there's
see.
like there's there's always one that fits best for a situation. It may not. It's sort of like,
But the game
lot of
will
the game
always
is
not
just-
will not hardwall you.
well,
on
a
it.
lot of the game is designed around. Yeah, you could do it another way. It's just gonna suck. You know.
Yeah, which it definitely talks about. You talk to a judge and you want to do you need to go to a competition, and yeah, the fire way is to say, I'm going to do it no matter, I don't care, let me do it, and it's harder. Or you appeal to his authority,
Right,
or you appeal
right,
to something
right.
else, like an earth and a waterway, and it's like, this is how it's supposed to work. But then technically the DM, like the whole thing, I'm going to do the TNs every time, which is fine. I think it's a fine rule. But like, yeah, it's supposed to be specific. And I just need to study the rings more, because
Yeah.
they like, okay,
Honestly,
earth I feel like is easy. Fire's like, theorize and stuff. It's
Honestly,
like
I feel
water
like
and
it
air
might be
similar.
better to read some of the published adventures in more depth.
Yeah.
Because seeing how it's done is a lot more useful than seeing it in like a theoretical sense.
No,
I
I'm
feel.
reading them, but they're mysteries. The first published adventures are mysteries, so a lot of it is just you guys seeing who you want to like talk to next. So it's actually not that many. After that, yes, the Shadowlands adventure I believe has a bunch, which is probably easier because Shadowlands adventure is like, oh, you guys are all regular dudes.
It's
and then
it's more murder hobo-y, us against the darkness sort of deal. Yeah.
Kind of. I mean, Rokugan's not murder hobery because you have the clans, which I'm going to even emphasize more next session about. You have family members that care about what you're doing.
It's heavy.
Exciting.
You're
not by yourself.
Light on the hobo. You know?
Yeah. That's true. That's true.
No, it's very opposite of murder hobo. Like you have people that care about what you do all the time. Like, and if you don't have a job.
I'm very excited
you
to
get kicked out. You get cut
You
off.
you don't become.
true.
You're a samurai because you're with someone. You're sponsored by somebody.
I'm very excited for that to become more of an issue.
Anyways, yeah, these are good.
Are we good?
Oh, well, this is time.
Oh shit. Yeah, I guess so.
I do have to piss.
Me too.
I guess, Red, in answer to your question, wrapping this all up,
I don't think I had
no,
one.
we've never had a memorable puzzle.
Yeah, no, bad question. Try again.
Yeah, unless the towers, the thing I keep referencing, the towers a puzzle, because it fucking was a puzzle to me.
It was not supposed to be a puzzle.